weakness? And how will you alleviate that weakness? How will you alleviate that weakness? كثرة ذكر الموت وقراءة القرآن. He says, remember death a lot, and do what? Recite Qur'an. The two things that will remove weakness from you will be remembrance of death and staying tied with revelation. In this surah, what was the problem mentioned of the Jews? The two things that were connected. One, they had a superficial relationship with their book. It was on their backs. And next, they're running from death. And the Prophet ﷺ says, you will face that weakness. SubhanAllah. Like one shoe compared to the other, we're going to be like Bani Israel. Like one slipper compared to another slipper. SubhanAllah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Now the Salatul Jum'ah is being mentioned. And Salatul Jum'ah is being mentioned very strategically. How do you remember death? And what is supposed to connect you to revelation? Individually, I'm supposed to recite Qur'an. Individually, I'm supposed to make salat. But on a weekly level, on a weekly basis, Allah Azza wa Jal forced us to hold a convention. He institutionalized a convention. And this incredible convention, you don't have to send flyers for it. You don't have to make a Facebook event out of it. You don't have to make phone calls to invite people. They will show up on their own. The religious ones, the not so religious ones. The knowledgeable ones, the not so knowledgeable ones. The practicing ones, the not so practicing ones. The young ones and the old ones. They will all show up on their own for those 20 minutes of a khutbah, and then that salat. They'll just show up. Some late, some early, but they'll just show up in more numbers than anything else. In more numbers than any other event. Every single week the Ummah holds a meeting. It's called Salatul Jumu'ah. No other nation on earth has a congregation like that on a weekly basis. Why? Because what's the purpose of Jumu'ah? This ayah, this defines Jumu'ah. Listen to it carefully. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, those of you who claim to believe, إِذَا نُودِيَ لِلصَّلَاةِ, when the call is made for prayer, min yawmil jumu'ah, from a part of the day of Friday, min tab'idiyya, a part of the day of Friday, meaning you don't have to give up your entire Friday, like the Jews had to give up the entire Saturday. Min is a part of the day of Friday, you're going to be called for prayer. From yawmil jumu'ah, jumu'ah by the way, from jama'a yajma'u, jam'an, to gather. Yawmul jumu'ah, literally the day of gathering. And that's another reason why on Judgment Day we will be gathered on the day of Al-Jumu'ah. Friday doesn't begin to communicate why it's called Yawmul Jumu'ah. It's called Yawmul Jumu'ah because every Jumu'ah is supposed to be a reminder of Judgment Day itself. Because that one of the names of Judgment Day is Yawmul Jam'ah. From Jumu'ah. From the word Jumu'ah. And our congregations are a gathering. But you know what? That means our gathering is a reminder of a much larger gathering, which is Day of Judgment. There are rehearsals for Judgment Day. Salat in Jama'ah is a rehearsal for Judgment Day at a smaller level. Yawmul Jumu'ah is a rehearsal for Judgment Day at a bigger level. Hajj is a rehearsal for Judgment Day at the largest level. The religious spiritual exercises we have in Islam are all somehow tied to Judgment Day. What was the subject right before? Running away from death. The Muslim comes to Jumu'ah, he can't run from death. He's being reminded of Judgment Day just by the fact that he's gathered.